Hey guys, it's Custom here. Today I've got episode number 4 of my video series on small space whoop racing tips. And this is going to be a piggyback video off of episode number 3. So if you haven't watched that one, I'd highly recommend doing so right now and meeting me back here in this video once you're finished. I'll have links to that video in this video's description and links to this video in that video's description, so you can go there and back using those links, and we'll meet right back up here and get started here. So like I said, it's going to be a piggyback, meaning that we're going to be using a lot of the same concepts from that video, building off that, but we're going to go into a little bit more detail to create a new track today with the same obstacles. So as you can see around me, we have the same obstacles from that video: ladder, 2 cubes, gate, and our tripod over there to use as a pylon. And I'm gonna show you guys more into the brainstorming process of how I create a track. So instead of already having an idea in mind and walking you guys through the process of me nailing it down, I'm going to show you guys how I actually come up with that idea in my first few batteries on the track. Then we'll do a practice battery. And yeah, so 3 new priorities, completely different track, but the same layout, same obstacles. Basically trying to show you guys that there's a bunch of different flows you can do with your obstacles in a room, no matter how limiting the space might feel. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the DVR, get onto flying the track, and we'll get started here. Okay, so before we get started, we need to develop our 3 priorities for this track, and we're going to make them totally different from the last one here. So instead of a left ladder, let's do a right ladder, and instead of a few dives, let's do an ascender. And maybe let's do a dive in there as well, but let's not make it a tight and flowy dive. Maybe let's do a big swooping 180 dive. So yeah, those can be 3 priorities. They're quite a bit different than the last track, obviously. So now we can get up in the air here. I want to apologize that there's a big scratch right there in the center of the lens. It turns out if you fly around a brick wall and you crash into it a lot, it will scratch your lenses pretty easily, and a lot of my whoops are all messed up now. So anyways, I'll try to get a clean lens on there for next time, but this one's got a scratch I just cannot get out. So the first thing I like to do when I'm brainstorming for a track is to find a feature that must be kind of included somewhere in the track. So for example, the most obvious one that comes to my mind is that a right ladder of some form is going to need to be on this track because that's one of our priorities. So we're going to head over to the ladder and we need to hit this to the right, just like that. So that's where I like to start here. And I don't always like to work forward and find the next thing in the track. Sometimes I want to work backwards. So let's say if we're coming into the ladder like this, what can we put before it? Maybe we want to put a left-hand turn and slalom that takes us into our right-handed ladder and then moves us forward. Maybe we can go around like that. But that's kind of like a interesting flow, kind of down through that gate. Also to the right. Maybe this would also be a decent opportunity to kind of come back and do like a dive into this big gate. That might be the move for our big swooping dive priority. So right ladder, big dive, maybe come back through here, and then as we come back through here, the end of the track is going to be right here. So we don't want to have this feature go back to the end of the track without using our other gate. So that's like, you know, what do you do? Maybe we should throw this gate in after the big swooping dive. So you like swoop into the right, come around here, go back to our lower gate right here. And then maybe this can be on our ascender, take us back to the start. Let's try that again. So, alright, so right down, dive, up, around through here. I'm not really in love with that. Through here, but that's pretty close. Then we go through our ascender, back around to the left, back around to the right, right dive, direction change to the left. Ooh, it seems like I'm going to run into this cube here if I take it a little bit too wide. Like I'm going to smack into the corner there. So maybe we can reuse this cube and make it like a corner gate to give us a little bit more space and add another feature in. So let's go ahead and do it from the top again. So around here, right hand ladder down, cube through the corner there, through the bottom, up, ascender, around to the left, and then around through there. That seems like it really could work. Now, The last thing that I like to do once I think I have a track in mind is to kind of check it for my direction changes and check it for a balance of right and left hand turns. So basically we start in a right here, and we're going to go into a right turn, and then we're going to switch to the left. So that's one direction change. Now we're going to go to the left, and I think that's throughout the rest of the track until we get around here and then go back to the right. So 2 direction changes is the bare minimum. Obviously, if you want to go both directions in a lap, you have to turn between them once and then back to the other direction, so that'll be 2. So it's not great. Typically I like to have, at least a few more, but given the size of the space, I think this is a pretty decent track, and I think it flows pretty well. Back through here, underneath, in the ascender. That ascender is a super dynamic feature that requires a good pre-turn on it, because if you come out here, you'll kind of hit the outside of the cube. So I think that's going to be something that's going to be good to work on as I'm going through and along, just like that. Okay, so here we go, guys. It's time for our first practice pack on the track here, and just like last time, I'm going to say it, but consistency counts here. You're going to want to build as much confidence as you can on the track here as quickly as possible, and the best way to do that is by turning a bunch of laps straight out of the gate. They may not be your quickest laps, they definitely won't be, but there's a time for pushing yourself, and that's towards the end of your session. But first you want to kind of develop that racing speed where you know that you can get through as many laps as possible with as few errors as possible. So that's what we're going for. I'm going to try to turn a few clean laps here, then I'll continue with the narration. Alright, so there's like 3 or 4 clean laps right there. Again, not going too fast, just trying to find that line, stay right on the center of the line there, so if I happen to deviate when I'm pushing a little bit harder, I kind of have that muscle memory that pushes me on the center of the line. Easier to make recoveries, you have a higher chance of making it through each gate. And we're going for repeatability here, once again. Going for doing lap after lap the same exact way as you did the lap before. Just like this, guys. Taking things a little bit extra wide when you have to. And this really builds your confidence, because I've just done like 8 or 9 clean laps, and as I say that, of course, I make a little mistake in the upgate, but just did 8 or 9 clean laps, and that's a huge confidence builder for me as I'm going into begin to start pushing on the track. I can know that, hey, I already can complete a lap, and now as I get faster and faster, I can kind of refine those lines that I've already established. Little bump there. Again, important to practice your recoveries as well, and just kind of keep it smooth. Because in a race, guys, of course, it sometimes doesn't come down to if you crash or not, because everybody might crash. It comes to how fast you can recover from those crashes. So there we go. That's the end of the battery here, and we'll get started with another one. Alright, here we go with pack number 2. Same thing, we're just going to try to keep it smooth, work on our speed a little bit, maybe increase that with the consistency. So don't lose the consistency, but as you start getting that muscle memory and getting the hang of the track, you can start going faster and faster, but try to keep that consistency with you. And if you notice on a certain part of the track that you start making more mistakes, dial it back in that area and speed up in other areas where you feel more confident. So let's get into it. So I'm taking it super slow into that upgate right there. And then in this dive where I feel more comfortable, going a little bit faster, but again, coasting into that upgate there. course, those mistakes are going to happen, but part of just working on the push is adapting from common areas where you make mistakes. I didn't have enough altitude there. Thankfully the whoop is alright. Oop, that's not the right way. Alright, so we're going to reset after that crash here. Try to get back on the line. And like I was saying in that last battery, the biggest thing is not if you're going to crash or not in a race, because more than likely, if you're racing pilots at a similar skill level, you're all pushing and crashes just are going to happen. But it's how you respond after a crash, because not only do you need to make a physical recovery with your whoop, like turtle it, get back on the racing line, but also you need to make a mental recovery. You need to get confident again after making that misstep. And it may have let other people pass you. You might be seeing that, watching other people fly by you. So how can you be confident and not feel like you have to push beyond your skill level in order to continue? So it's both a mental and a physical thing. Alright, and we're butchering this battery, so let's go ahead and land it and end it there. So that's all I've got for this video, guys. Thanks again for stopping by the channel. I've got a few more videos planned for this series, but if you have any other topic ideas related to small space whoop racing, I'd be happy to make more videos and tack them on to keep this series rolling. Of course, that goes for general video ideas for my channel as well. I'm trying to keep this channel as community focused as possible and answer your questions through videos as well as responding to comments. I'm happy to take any support or criticism that you might have for me as well. What I can be doing better in these videos to make them more enjoyable or maybe bearable to watch. But yeah, that's the whole goal here. If you haven't already, I'd appreciate if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss an upload, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.